Hi everyone, and welcome to my review of Lady and the Tramp in 1955. This is the 15th Disney animated feature film, and yes, here we are once again. This is a Blu-ray I picked up kind of pretty recently. Of course, we are back now in the Silver Age Disney. Kind of one of the more popular ones of the Silver Age, of course. Yes, wonderful shiny still, kind of yes, slipcover here. And it's just a wonderful film to watch on Blu-ray. The visuals were just really great. I'd never seen this on Blu-ray before, and yes, it's a film that I've seen quite a lot. It was never one of my very favourite Disney films, but it's definitely one of the ones that I could say I loved, or at least really liked. Of course, yeah, as a kid, sometimes you forget the parts of certain films, where maybe they're not quite as great as other parts in the film. And I think definitely, watching it, I can remember certain segments, especially early on, that aren't actually that great. But it has got some greatness in this, in this film. It is usually ranked, maybe not top 10, and it wouldn't be for me, but certainly top 25 Disney's of the roughly 57 now. It kind of it's usually ranked as one of the better Disneys, you could say. And of course, yes, it's a very simple story. But I think a lot of these Disney ones, the best ones are simpler stories. But this one is not. It's not a one that kind of has any genius stuff in, I wouldn't say, and it's not one that really elevates and reaches a mastery of simplicity. It's one that is very light, but it doesn't have loads of greatness in it, as I say. It's a one that I think definitely lacks in some regards emotion. It's very cute and warm and charming, which really gives it a lot of marks, of course. But it's not something like Pinocchio where it's one of the most spiritual films while also being uplifting and joyous and all this kind of stuff and charming. That film is a masterpiece. And it's just got so many great themes, so much moving moments, and just genius and thrilling action scenes. This one is much more low key. It's one of the most low key Disney films. It's very kind of based in this small kind of place, this town location. It does show, of course, Lady at the beginning as a puppy. One of my favourite parts. It's just a lovely kind of segment. Very short lived, of course, but it's so cute, and just, yeah, of course, some people, say some of these ones would be better if they were silent. Now, with this one, maybe looking at it, I would say possibly it would have been better, maybe as a silent film. Of course, I've seen more silent films since I last saw this. This was probably about 9 or 8 years ago that I last saw this film. And I think I've got more knowledge of cinema now and stuff. It definitely, I think, could have been, because at first, obviously, the lady doesn't talk, and of course, I don't think all the voice acting is perfect in this film, and stuff. And I think definitely the moments in the film, even after that opening, that are at the best, are the ones that are purely kind of visual, you could say, actually, and stuff. And of course, the spaghetti scene, the meatballs, all these, definitely great moments that are littered throughout are usually the ones that aren't actually, including dialogue and stuff, and I think it's a very good film, this one, but I don't think it's great. Of course, it's not, as I say, it was never one of my absolute favourites, but I always really liked it. Of course, I do really like this film. There's moments that I loved, actually, as I say, the opening, the ending, and there's a couple of moments, when they're kind of going about, it's kind of an adventure film at times. It does, maybe it says on the back here, they're kind of many adventures. It's not really, and this is the thing I noticed once again. It's not a film actually. Maybe you can compare it to Bambi, which is very short. Actually, always strikes me how short that film is, but the scope of it is so grand and just massive. The scope and what is covered in that film is just life itself. This one, actually feels like not everything, it's kind of not a lot covered in this film when you actually think about it. Of course, maybe if the childhood, the puppy scenes and stuff would have been longer, but I don't know. But yes, basically, I don't think it's loads of adventures, as they say. It's kind of just a segment in the middle where they kind of they go off. I think there is a dip after that sort of very, very opening to about 25 minutes. It happens with a lot of Disney films, for sure, where it's just kind of a bit flat. And as a kid, maybe, I don't remember a lot of this stuff, when I watched it as a kid. Maybe I fast forwarded it sometimes, or kind of, just didn't remember it, kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely flawed here. It's a bit flat, but yes, the rest of the film after that really, really picks up. And this film, of course, as I say, it has so much charm. I think the animation I really loved. Actually, the music, of course, really, really like the music. Aside from maybe the Siamese, kind of cat song, that was a bit not great, and stuff. But yeah, it's not some of the best Disney music overall in this film, the overall soundtrack. But it's definitely it's not really got any bad songs or pieces of music, and it's all very, very uplifting the way it's used. Really, this is one of the best things about the film. It is the actual romance itself. I really liked Tramp. He is definitely, there's a couple of bits early on where he's a bit kind of silly and stuff, and not the best of characters, but definitely Lady as well. She's a really good character, and when they're together, of course, it's just really wonderful at times. Especially the famous scene. It's really wonderful scene, wonderful moment, just so romantic, of course, and again, just kind of this visual moment. That's when the film is at its best. It's these kind of visual moments and stuff and sequences. It has got some really good action in the film as well. When of course Tramp gets involved in some fights and stuff, and of course it does have some kind of touching moments, involving such kind of random dogs and stuff in the homes that you see, dog homes. That's one of the things that it does really, really well. Kind of makes you feel sorry for some of these characters, these animals, of course. But it's not a film that really, really reaches an emotional resonance. I wouldn't say too much. Aside from these little moments throughout, the main story, the narrative, and all the characters are involved. I don't think it really reaches that, which could have elevated, of course, to greatness overall. But definitely very, very consistently, involving, apart from some of the early parts, and just I definitely loved moments of the film. I think it's just a really pleasing film. I loved the ending. Kind of 5 minutes or so. Really, really loved this. I love the way it came together, and it's a really beautiful film in a lot of areas. The locations in the film, and of course the animation, very, very simple, but just really wonderful. Of course I really loved seeing it on Blu-ray for the first time. Of course when I first saw this, it was always VHS, and stuff. And actually, possibly, I don't think I've ever owned the DVD. So it's just jumped ahead, of course, to Blu-ray. And it's really wonderful to see, all the colours and stuff. Wonderful, animation to this film. And just, I think very naturalistic and stuff. And yes, I think the side characters in the film, another thing that bumps it up. Definitely some of the better side characters, of course, in a Disney film, Trusty and Jock, the main side characters, of course, really, really warm and funny. That's the thing, it has a lot of humour in the film. A couple of moments where it doesn't quite work as well as it should have done. But yeah, definitely most of the humour really, really lands and just adds to the charm, the enjoyment of the film, and just, I think, it really is definitely a very, very enjoyable film. As I say, definitely moments that I loved of the film, and I think, these moments are the ones that I really remember as a kid. But overall, I don't love the film. I don't think it's quite a great film, but I do think it's definitely one of the, as most people say, I agree. It's one of the better Disneys. While also I agree, not one of the the pinnacles. Definitely not of what Disney has achieved. It's not genius. Therefore, it's not the best of what Disney can do, because despite what some say, Disney has achieved true masterful, cinema, certainly genius stuff with their best works. Even their top 10, all of them ones, are something else. This doesn't quite get there, but definitely, I do agree it's one of the better Disneys. I recently reviewed Frozen. I prefer this, I'd take this over Frozen. It's a very good film, that, but, I think definitely this I would take over that. But In terms of how I'd rank it, without giving away the exact numbering, of course, it'd be around the Hercules kind of, Hercules mark of my enjoyment. It's definitely a very, very good film, this one. Wonderfully charming, and just some really lovely moments in the film. The romance, of course, it's definitely a film that's very, very romantic. I loved, of course, certain scenes, and it has, overall, a very strong, kind of a group of characters. I really like the themes in the film, the way they're explored. Sometimes a bit kind of basic, but definitely, really, really effective, of course. The music, throughout most of the film, aside from maybe one track, of course, it's really, really nice, very pleasing. This is just what it is, it's a pleasing film that's quite touching in places, not fully, emotionally draining or anything. It's not something that makes me, cry or anything like that, but yes, it really is a very enjoyable film. I'd rank it among, the better Disneys. I think I prefer to. I take it, over something like Hunter of Notre Dame. And definitely evokes nostalgia in you. Definitely through its visuals and through its charm, its feel. Definitely much so. And yes, I'd have to give the film an 84%. So yeah, that's a really high score from me. I don't think this is a great film. But I do think it has a lot going for it that's definitely, in some cases great. Just overall as a picture, not quite there. But it really is just a pleasing film. I suppose it doesn't elevate to a level of greatness in quite a few areas. Like the narrative, and the actual overall motion to the film, as well. Yeah, maybe just early on, especially after the kind of the poppy sequence, which I just absolutely adored. How can you not? It did feel a bit flat for a while, but then it really picked up. I see this definitely a pattern. Now I'm going through all of these ones, maybe in kind of some sort of succession, and actually really, really looking at these films and stuff. Sometimes Disney films, they have kind of a pattern where they have a really great opening scene, and then they start to low out, for a bit, and then they really pick up again, consistently maybe. Yes, this is another one of them cases where, it really reels me in with this charm, this magical feel, and, of course, just really nice moments. And then, of course, once it starts to really set up the main story, the narrative, it starts to falter a little bit, but then, once things kind of kick in, it's really enjoyable. This is another one of them films. I don't think it has enough in it. In terms of emotion, and overall, just the way the narrative escalates and stuff to be called great, and certainly not a masterpiece for me. This is not one of the pinnacles of Disney, but definitely one of the better Disneys. I really, really enjoyed this film. Of course, always have. I watched this quite a few times. It wasn't one of my very most watched, and as I say, not one of the best Disneys. It's not a great film for me, but definitely, if you've not seen the film, yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Maybe watch the film and see what you think. I think a lot of people have probably seen this film. And I have very nostalgic memories of this, and it does really makes you feel nostalgia just within the visuals even alone, and the music, and the kind of it's just some of the moments in this, it's very, very nice. That's the thing, it's very pleasing aesthetically, and in its characters, definitely it's very, very light in tone, but it's not a film that's light and masterfully executed. I think definitely there can be light films that are masterpieces. This just isn't one of them. On this occasion, I don't feel that. But definitely, I've always really liked this film, and it's definitely going to be in the better half of the Disney ranking when I do my ranking eventually. I'd really recommend the film. If you have seen it, of course, let me know what you think in the comments. But yes, of course, really glad I saw this on Blu-ray finally. It's been a while, waiting, of course. I'm not sure why I didn't pick this one up sooner on Blu-ray, because it's really wonderful visuals and stuff, and the audio, of course, as well. So yeah, to sum up, of course, the reasons why it's not quite a great film, it just doesn't go the extra mile kind of thing. This isn't truly a special film for me. Maybe a couple of moments, but not overall as a piece of cinema, for animation, and stuff, and certainly I'm not someone who says animation can't. If you know my channel, I absolutely adore animation. You know, I do think there's so many masterpieces of animation. This just doesn't quite go there. I don't think it's, you know, entirely massively flawed. You know, it's not the reason why it doesn't get a great rating. It's just because it doesn't elevate like something like Pinocchio or you know, many anime films like Whisper of the Heart I reviewed recently and stuff like that. But yes, definitely a really enjoyable film that I do love at times and overall really like. So yes, of course, thanks for watching. There'll be more of course Disney reviews and just overall animation, you know, more anime reviews to come soon. So yes, tell me what you think, and thanks for watching my review.